Let's hear what Riot has to say. Mage's bot. We pulled Brand from the patch given the concerns around Mage's bot lane. That said, we know this is a contentious topic, and I'll give some high-level thoughts on how we see the situation, and more detailed thoughts in the patch rundown. Okay. We see Mage's bot as creating a healthy diversity for the bot lane experience overall, roughly 4-to-1 ratio of traditional marksmen to mages, even though for some traditional marksmen, they can be quite frustrating. Well, I can see that. Like, for example, I can give a good example, right? If you play Jinx and you play against Vel'Koz, it's like so miserable. Because you're playing at like 325 MS and you have no mobility in the kit, so if one Vel'Koz Q lands, you're just cooked, you know? But overall, honestly, 4-to-1 ratio, looking at MSI, the ratio is definitely not 4-to-1, right? It's like, it's way more. So there's that. It's important that players experience a mix of games at high intensity, playing ADC against Rengar and Talon plus Mage's bot, and also games that are more comfortable and low threat, like Iron Jungle, as it creates the variety and flow state that keeps the game fun. Okay, I understand the point he's trying to make, definitely. I just think the ratio is off right now. Too much intensity or too little intensity would make the game unfun in the long run, as you'd never really feel those spikes of cortisol and triumph, which is one of the reasons assassins need to be strong, for example, or be constantly stressed. Assassins need to be strong? Marksmen are still the most popular bot carry in both pro and regular play. Okay, Riot, this is a little bit of like twisting the words in a sense. Yes, they are the most popular bot carry in regular play. Of course, the vast majority of people that play League of Legends, when they queue up a bot lane, their primary goal is to play ADC, regardless of what other role is strong. That is always going to be the case. But saying that they're still the most popular in pro/high elo is just like a little bit like weird to say, because obviously the priority is going up and up in very recent times, and like it's not like they have to be literally more played than ADCs in order for Riot to do something about it, but whatever. Mage's bot also need to be viable picks to allow teams to undoom themselves in champs, like for an AD pick mid like Zed, Yon, and Yasuo. That said, Mage's bot have a pretty high win rate, often the highest, so aren't they overpowered? The win rates don't really tell the full story, but they're definitely strong for several reasons. Mages, especially simple ones like Brand, Veigar, or Swain, for example, have quite shallow mastery curves, usually only gaining 3-4% after playing 50 games, and also starting very high on game 1, in addition to not being deeply played in bot lane. Many mage bot players haven't progressed the mastery curve that far when you encounter them, and the mastery curve is not that steep. A similar effect if you played Autofield Malf at top, which is high skill floor. ADCs by contrast are typically harder to play, but also reward mastery depth more, meaning their win rates are relatively suppressed compared to mages bot. I'm not saying that mages at high levels or mastery skill are weak, but mainly saying that win rates don't tell the full story, and we see them as relatively similar in power level overall, just often more forgiving, can be more tolerant of matchup. Okay, it does make a lot of sense in what he's saying, definitely. There are obviously characters like this where, like Nami is one, for example, where something like once people have 5 or 10 games on Nami, their win rate just doesn't increase anymore. And yeah, saying that they're relatively similar in power, maybe for regular players, but in high elo/pro, it's hard to say, honestly. I'm leaning towards that they're not that close, but yeah. So, okay, let's see. ADCs have also accelerated 3 item spikes in the season compared to the other roles due to the bot quest, which also presents an interesting strategic balancing point. Mages are a bit stronger in early item spikes and weaker in later ones. Another balancing aspect of Mage's bot is that they typically represent a composition trade-off. Example is Ori, Yonara plus Lulu bot lane and win on 2-3 items, or AD mid plus Ziggs engage bot and need to end the game fast. If struggling with Mage's bot, champs like Ezreal, Sivir, Zarya can be quite a factor against them. Dodge skills and have strong 2-3 item spikes and outscale. I generally find like this type of advice kinda like harmful, you know? It's like someone in silver is gonna read this and think, oh, I should play Ezreal. No, you should not play fucking Ezreal in silver if you actually, you know, wanna win. Also, as someone who has played at the highest level for so many years, I have never ever found this reasoning that Sivir is good into mages. I have never agreed with it, ever. She's only good into mages when she is overpowered. She like, right now, I don't think Sivir is good into mages. I just didn't see how. I think people just think, oh, high wave clear and spell shield in the kit. I swear, Sivir spell shield is a dog shit ability. IMO. Anyway, announced conversation that I'll dig more in the video later. I mean, okay, definitely like respect for Riot Froxum for putting some of his thoughts here, because the reality is that people, 99% of internet, will probably not even understand a fraction of what he's saying, whether it is right or not, and they're just going to complain, right? So it's like, if I'm a rioter, bro, I'm not giving any thoughts out. It's just a never-ending war, but props. Azir, players have been complaining about a bunch of bugged functionality for Azir ever since we made changes to make on-hits work on him. The team has fixed the vast majority of these bugs, things like jungle monsters not getting shuffled and PTA not working in Conquer stacks. Okay, that's cool to hear, Riot, but I do have to admit that you guys should not be praised for this. Because this has been in the game for way too long. Come on, this should have been addressed earlier. There's no way we should be praising you guys for this. Okay, Protoball Harness. When looking at our jungle Nemesis nerfs, we ended up deciding that the better nerf would be to target Proto Harness. Other users like Shen Jungle are also pretty strong, so we think pulling the champ nerfs and nerfing the item instead of is a better direction and helps retain the power level of Nasus top. Okay. I like it and I don't like it. I like it for the reason that Proto Harnessed is actually, at least according to Coachless, I think like a top 5 best item in the game. So the item is clearly really strong. But the problem I have is that where's the Nasus top compensation buff? Like, surely Nasus top should get some sort of a compensation buff. Like, I just find it so unfair that you can play Nasus jungle and get like 2 times more stacks than Nasus top lane super easily. I find that really unfair, personally. Okay, let's see the whole patch now. So Azir has bug fixes. Corki has 0.5 AD growth, which is usually around 1% win rate, right? And then passive R CD reduction auto will go up to 6 seconds based on crit, I think. So, okay, more incentivized to build crit, but Corki will obviously still go the Trinity into Mana Moon build usually, so he doesn't get a whole lot of crit, but it's something. Mordekaiser R stat steal will go up by 3%. Wow. Very dangerous way of buffing Mordekaiser, in my opinion, and not something I like at all. Mordekaiser R is a very low counterplay, bringing that ability that, you know, I get that Mordekaiser doesn't technically have a lot of gameplay and not a lot of ways you can buff him, but seeing buffs on his E or Q or maybe even W would technically, I think, be better than buffing just R, where it's like point and click and then he steals more stats, and it's like, really? A bit weird, in my opinion. Yeah, E damage will also go down. By the way, Mordekaiser E is one of the lowest base damage abilities in the game with a dogshit AP ratio. I believe the reason for this is because the ability is extremely low elo skewed, and well, Mordekaiser is a low elo stomper. Nami E damage will go up by 20, which is a very, very big deal for Nami. Very, very big. She's getting a lot of damage for free in the kit here, especially when paired with mages. Nami is unironically better pairing with mages than AD carries. A lot of people don't know that. And Staff of Flowing Water is also a really good item on her. And yeah. Overall, this is kind of like undoing a nerf that Mandate got. And I do wonder if this type of buff will just make you max E, or maybe you'll do 2 points W into E now, right? Because I'm not sure if this is the correct skill order now on the current version of Nami. Yunara, a simple stat buff, growth, AD growth as well up. So I like AD growth because she already gets so much attack speed in the build that she does need AD. Like, AD is a stat that she needs a lot more than something like attack speed. However, I still don't like the fact that they didn't address that. One thing about Yunara, which I don't like, is that she is insanely squishy. Garen, our true damage will just be lowered by 25, 50, 75. I mean, it's just a solid nerf to again, another low counterplay, low skill ability of Garen. Jace, okay, Jace is getting some insane nerfs, especially I feel like they're targeted towards high elo here, /pro, right? So passive move speed on form swap will go down to 30. Obviously, the best players in the world are better at form swapping, and they do it more often. And Jace passive already got nerfed actually about 3-4 years ago, once I remember that. And then our Hammers this is like the big one for me, is losing a lot of free armor and MR. The AD ratio will stay the same, but the base will go down by 3, 6, and 9. 3, 6, yeah, 9. Yeah, it's a lot of less armor and MR, and this will definitely make a difference, you know? Makes Jay squishier. Lock. But yeah, I like this nerfs because I have always found it to be very bullshit, the fact that Jace is somehow so tanky in hammer form. I have always had such a big problem while building only offensive items. So, okay, here's the lock nerf. So 8 damage of Q nail. It's 3 nails, right? So 8 damage less there. Base damage, so early game nerf. Q stack base bonus damage. So this is just when you stack up the Qs. Also less, 2 to 10. Q nail recast hold time 4 seconds. This actually makes a difference in lane a lot, especially in like high elo, where you have to do 1 Q and then hold it for minions to go lower. Definitely going to ruin some of his last hitting early. And it is also a problem sometimes where you wanna Q and then hold the Q for a little bit, you know. And then the W base Grey Health cap per rank will go also down by 40. So this is gonna be enough to stop Lock from being Lock. Probably still a good champion for solo queue. Honestly, the kit is just really well suited for solo queue, but you know, number nerfs slowly, you know, they're gonna stack up over time to the point where the champ will not be that good anymore. But we're getting there. Senna crit damage modifier down by -20. So benefiting less from crit. Q AP slow down by 2%. I think this is a very good nerf on the Q AP slow. As someone who plays Senna a lot, I have noticed that just by building static shield, which gives you like 40 AP or something like that, your Q starts slowing absurd amounts of, yeah, just like you Q and it feels like they're slowed way too much, honestly. It like makes your W basically auto-land every time. And the Q AP healing also getting nerfed. I believe AP Enchanter Senna support is insanely performant right now, so yeah. Overall, I think ADC Senna is probably a little bit more effective than support Senna here if you're playing like AD support Senna. Seraphine Q damage AP ratio down by 10%. This ability on release had about maybe something like 70% AP ratio on Q. Yeah, I mean this ability just got gutted over the years. It's a main wave clear ability. And I think what's going to happen is a lot of Seraphine players are probably just going to swap from putting points into Q and going more into E and W direction, right? But like... yeah, Seraphine has always been very unique in the sense that at a lot of points in time, you were able to max Q, W, or E on her. So she's very versatile in that sense. But yeah, it's. I mean, it has to happen, right? They have to nerf something of her. Her win rates are absurd. Support ADC. Also, last thing I'm going to say about Seraphine is people need to give up on Seraphine being a mid laner, okay? If I see a discussion on internet which is like, oh, Seraphine mid is suffering, okay, listen, Seraphine is not a mid laner, just forget about her. Her kit is literally designed to be together with someone which is inherently bot lane skewed. It makes no sense, this is not even close to being a mid lane skewed kit. So Riot just failed when they released Seraphine. They should have never said we wanted to be a mid laner. They should have just from the get-go say we wanted to be an ADC and a support, and that's it. And there you go. Blue buff gets 10 ability haste, goes to level 10, goes to 10, 15, 20. So this is obviously a mage buff, right? Because mages will use the haste a lot more than other roles, but also characters like Varus or characters like even maybe Senna a bit, or like Israel, even some AD carries, or maybe sometimes even some bruisers will benefit a lot from 20 hastes, Zat, Ambassa, stuff like that. So you know, not to be underestimated. Also, the ability haste scales up way too quickly. Like 6 and 11, I thought it would go like 11 and 16. Like really? 6 and 11? I think this is a massive buff to blue, and honestly, probably a mistake. Rock Belt gets a way worse build path because it loses Codex in the build path and now builds out of more HP. Active will go up by 10 seconds. I don't think that's the worst because generally in high elo at least I don't find using active directly off cooldown, so usually 10 seconds is not gonna kill it. Stats 70 to 60 AP and 300 health to 350 HP. Yeah, I definitely think this is a Rocket Belt nerf. I think there's still a high chance this is still being purchased just because health is still extremely valuable in pro play, but it will be a worse item for solo queue, I think. And 10 less AP, it's, having low AP numbers could be showing, long term on your builds. Immortal Path, damage decreased by 1%, 3% less increased healing and shielding, especially some champions use that really well, like Nafiri with Q or whatever, so, okay. Okay, Jack of Trades, one of the best runes in League for sure, depending on champion. Adaptive will go from 10 to 6 and 25 to 20. Yeah, big nerf. I think that is a massive nerf. That's essentially like what, 40% nerf to the rune or something, like maybe a bit less, but like it's a big nerf, man. That's a massive nerf. And then lastly, Protoplasm Harness, 100 more gold. Bonus health will go 100 to 300, so it takes longer to scale. Healing will go less early as well. So it's just basically a little bit worse early game. And then 100 cost more. I mean, yeah, the item will no longer be like top 5 best item in the game, but occasionally still probably decent, I would assume. Cosmic Inset was better anyway. No, it's not even a discussion. No. Cosmic Inset was not better than Jack of Trades. Cosmic Insight is pretty trash. I never take it. I think it's extremely trash. Yeah, not much to say. Some solid changes. I just think there's too little changes, but we'll see. Interesting how I think Jack of Trades. So Jack of Trades being worse is gonna make it so a lot more champions will try to default into Precision Tree a lot more, if possible, and Sorcery. And yeah, Rock Belt, we'll see how it shapes up the meta slowly. And yeah, I guess that's the patch. That's the patch. More jungle is OP now. More jungle has always been a very, very high win rate jungler, similar to Mundo, and it took a long time for people to discover it, or similar to there's one more like Nasus, Mundo, Mordekaiser. I believe there was like one more that I can't think of right now, but there was like one more extremely high win rate jungler that people don't usually play a lot. Maybe Morgana was also one. I believe Locke's kit is better for mid or for bot lane. The kit itself fits more mid lane, but the quest and how the season works with everything, a lot of champions do really well on bot lane, like Echo and Locke and stuff like that. So Locke bot lane is probably his better role, is what I think.